My name is Emily, and I've decided to share my wedding day horror story with you all. This isn't just about the normal wedding day jitters or the inevitable mishaps that occur with any big event. No, this is about how my mother-in-law, or as I now refer to her, my monster-in-law, tried to turn my dream wedding into a living nightmare. And now I'm left wondering if I'm the jerk for wanting to cut her out of my life completely. Let's rewind a bit to give you the full picture. My husband, Alex, and I had been together for 5 years before we decided to tie the knot. We were head over heels in love, and everything was perfect except for one thing: his mother, Linda. From the moment we met, Linda had never been particularly warm to me. There was always this air of competition, as if I was trying to steal her precious son away from her. Despite that, I tried to ignore it, thinking maybe it was just a case of overprotectiveness. I hoped that once Alex and I got married, things would settle down. Boy, was I wrong. As we started planning our wedding, we envisioned something intimate, a small gathering with close friends and family in a beautiful garden setting. Our goal was to celebrate our love in an intimate setting surrounded by those who truly cared about us. Linda had different plans. She wanted a grand event with hundreds of guests. "It's a family tradition," she insisted. Despite my reluctance, I tried to meet her halfway by allowing her to invite some of her friends and extended family, thinking this would make her feel included. Little did I know that this was only the beginning of what would become an escalating series of shocking and appalling behaviors. One day, about a month before the wedding, I received an envelope in the mail. Inside was a printed guest list, Linda's guest list. Not only had she invited over 50 people without consulting us, but these were people Alex hadn't seen since he was a child or barely knew. Some of them were even business acquaintances of hers, which made absolutely no sense. Feeling flabbergasted, I showed the list to Alex, hoping he would understand the absurdity of the situation. Luckily, he did, and he promised to speak to his mother about it. When he approached her, she feigned innocence, saying, "Oh, I thought you'd want a big, joyful celebration. You know, the more, the merrier." But when Alex insisted on sticking to our original plan, her demeanor shifted from one of feigned sweetness to cold irritation. She accused us of trying to shut her out of her son's life and undermining her role in the family. It was as if we were dealing with a petulant child throwing a tantrum. It left me questioning. Was I in the wrong for setting boundaries on our guest list? It felt like I was trying to reason with someone who couldn't be reasoned with, and it left me feeling on edge. As the weeks flew by and we approached the big day, Linda's next move was more insidious. While I was busy working on seating arrangements, I discovered another email from her with a new seating chart. In this chart, she had shuffled around our carefully planned arrangements, placing her friends and family in prime spots and pushing my relatives and friends to the outskirts. She had even gone so far as to place herself at our table, the bride and groom's table, without a single care for the fact that my parents were supposed to sit with us. I was fuming. Who did she think she was, trying to take over our special day like this? It wasn't just a matter of opinion. It was a clear attempt to undermine my role as the bride and insert herself into a position of power. I decided that this was the last straw. I called her to confront her about it, trying to keep my cool, but also being firm. "Linda, I understand you want to be involved, but this is not your wedding. It's mine and Alex's. We made the seating arrangements this way for a reason." She responded with a patronizing laugh. "Oh, Emily, you're still so young. You have no idea how these things work. I'm only trying to help you." Help? This was not help. This was control. Manipulation at its finest. I realized then that Linda wasn't going to stop. This wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was an active attempt to sabotage our plans. I was left wondering if perhaps I was overreacting, but deep down, I knew her actions were purposeful and malicious. As if the guest list and seating arrangement drama weren't enough, what happened next really took the cake. On the day of the wedding, I was in the bridal suite getting ready, feeling a mix of excitement and nerves. I remember the makeup artist was just putting the finishing touches on my look when one of my bridesmaids burst in, looking pale as a ghost. "You're not going to believe this, Emily," she said, her voice trembling. "Linda showed up in a white dress." For a moment, I just sat there, stunned, trying to process what I'd just heard. Surely, this was some kind of sick joke. But when I went to see for myself, there she was, mingling among the guests in a floor-length ivory gown with lace and sequins, looking every bit like she was trying to play the part of the bride. The audacity of it left me speechless. Here she was, trying to upstage me on my wedding day. It was a blatant and vicious act of envy and spite. I felt a mix of anger, hurt, and disbelief. How could someone stoop so low, especially on such an important day? In that moment, I had a decision to make. Do I confront her publicly and risk causing a scene? Or do I ignore her antics and focus on marrying the love of my life? Alex, who was equally as shocked and infuriated when he saw her, assured me that he'd handle it. He confronted his mother privately, demanding that she change into something more appropriate. Linda, of course, played the victim. "I didn't realize it was such a big deal," she said, her voice dripping with faux innocence. "I just wanted to wear something nice for my son's wedding." Alex stood firm, and to her credit, Linda did eventually change, albeit with a sour expression plastered across her face for the rest of the evening. But the damage was done. The guests had already seen her, and whispers of her antics had spread like wildfire through the venue. Despite the chaos and drama, I tried to stay positive and focus on the reason we were all there, to celebrate our love. As we stood at the altar, exchanging vows, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. This was what truly mattered, the commitment Alex and I were making to each other. But of course, Linda couldn't let things end on a good note. During the reception, while Alex and I were sharing our first dance, she somehow managed to hijack the microphone. Standing in front of the gathered guests, she began a speech that quickly veered off into awkward and uncomfortable territory. "Emily, you've certainly captured my son's heart, but let's not forget the bond a mother and son share," she said, her eyes glinting with a mixture of malice and possessiveness. "I've known him longer, and I know what's best for him." The room went silent. People exchanged uneasy glances, unsure of how to react. This wasn't just embarrassing. It was downright humiliating. It felt like a power play, an attempt to assert dominance and remind everyone of her perceived importance. I wanted to scream, to cry, to run out of there and never look back. But instead, I held my head high and took the microphone back, trying to salvage the moment. "Thank you, Linda, for your words. Today is about celebrating love and family, and Alex and I are grateful to have everyone here who supports us." It was a diplomatic response, but inside, I was seething. Linda had crossed the line one too many times, and it was time to draw a line in the sand. Once the wedding was over and the dust had settled, Alex and I had a long, heart-to-heart talk about everything that had happened. He was supportive, acknowledging that his mother had gone too far and agreeing that we needed to set some serious boundaries moving forward. I made it clear that while I loved him deeply, I couldn't continue to tolerate Linda's toxic behavior. We needed to distance ourselves, at least until she learned to respect our marriage and our choices. Surprisingly, Alex agreed. He was as tired of her antics as I was and understood that her behavior wasn't just affecting me, but also our relationship. We decided to have a frank conversation with Linda, expressing our feelings and setting clear boundaries. When we spoke to her, she was defensive at first, but eventually she seemed to understand that her actions had consequences. We told her that while we valued her role in our lives, we couldn't allow her to undermine our marriage. It was a difficult conversation, but it was necessary for us to move forward. In the end, am I the jerk for wanting to cut her out? I don't think so. Setting boundaries doesn't make you a jerk, it makes you wise. Everyone deserves respect, and that includes respecting the boundaries of a newly married couple. Sometimes, even family members can cross the line, and it's important to stand up for yourself and your relationship. To all of you out there dealing with a difficult mother-in-law or any toxic family member for that matter, remember that it's okay to put yourself first. It's okay to demand respect and peace in your life. Your wedding day, or any day for that matter, should be filled with love and joy, not drama and manipulation. Thank you for listening to my story. I hope it helps someone out there who might be going through a similar situation. Remember, you're not alone, and you have every right to protect your happiness. Until next time, take care and stay strong.